Function with Purpose podcast. All things health, wellness, fitness, and education through the physical therapy perspective. I am Dr. Amy Bullock, owner and founder of Fortress Physical Therapy. Fortress PT is here to serve the Charlotte metro area by highlighting the importance of how and why physical therapy should be a part of your health and wellness lifestyle. Here we go. Episode 3, Season 5, Function with Purpose podcast. In my little cubbyhole right now. Just so, a storm is coming in right now. So if you hear some stuff in the background, yes, that is a storm. So some thunder. Sorry, not sorry, but maybe it's, anywho. Okay, so as I mentioned before, with Season 5, a little bit different topics to kind of inform you all about, and this definitely hits home because I'm going to tell you a personal story. I'll try to keep this short. So what to think of when your health isn't so healthy, but from a financial perspective. Right? So, when I was 23 years old, so that was a little while ago, quite some time, my father became very sick. And, at the time, he had a health insurance plan through Blue Cross Blue Shield of West Virginia. I'm not sponsored. And I remember vividly, it was a PPO plan. Preferred provider, I don't know. I don't even know what it stands for anymore. Anyhow, I don't deal with insurances. But, so my dad became very, very sick. And at that moment in time, when he was very sick, he had melanoma, and it was already in his brain, and it kind of just eventually spread everywhere. But throughout the remainder 10 months of his life, he had a lot of, therapy visits he had to go through, speech, occupational therapy, physical therapy. Then he had to get MRIs, CT scans, go to oncology, get blood drawn, all this stuff, cancer drug treatments, new cancer drug treatments, all of this, right? So within a 10-month period, I'm totally guessing there was probably well over $2 million spent. And luckily, sickness, my dad's sickness insurance, I don't like to say health insurance because clearly my dad was sick at the time. It's not health insurance in my eyes, it's backwards. His sickness insurance, or hospitalization, sometimes that's what they call that, literally paid for everything. Oh my gosh. Right? And just to give you more insight, like my dad was a pretty healthy guy. Like he never smoked, never drank. He was always outside doing manual labor, putting sheetrock down, fixing a leak on the roof of a house. He was a civil engineer, so he did a lot of stooping, climbing, carrying heavy things. A lot of survey equipment, so he would survey property and all that. He also worked in the steel mill since 1971 up until 2009, or pretty close to it, actually 2005. So he was a civil engineer, excuse me, he was a civil engineer at that Weirton Steel, and he probably breathed some things that he didn't know of, and that maybe kind of sparked some things later on in life. But getting back to, what to think when your health isn't so healthy, right? So when my dad got sick with his last cancer, it literally obviously knocked him down. And from my perspective and my mom's perspective, we had to do a lot of paperwork stuff behind the scenes. So I became the power of attorney and medical power of attorney for my mom. Okay, because we knew the ultimate after my dad's 10 months of diagnosis, we knew what was going to happen. Unfortunately, he did pass. So things that kind of happened after that is, you know, my parents back in the 70s, they had a lot of bank accounts growing up, right? Kind of everywhere. So things to think about from when your health isn't so healthy and someone passes from your family. You got to delegate some things. So being aware what a medical power of attorney does, you make the ultimate decision for your living parent or your living sibling, right? And from the financial perspective, luckily the hospitalization insurance that we had at the time was through my dad's work, Blue Cross Blue Shield of West Virginia PPO plan, and that covered all the catastrophic stuff. And we're very thankful for that. So, after my dad passed, there were still a lot of things that needed tidied up. So, like changing over car ownership to my mom's name and then my name, right? So like literally whatever my mom's name on, my name was on. The house in West Virginia at that time, I was part owner, right? The cars that my mom owned, she only owned one, well, two at the time. I was part owner of those two cars, right? Property. My mom owns property now in West Virginia, and we had a long time ago. My dad owned that a long time ago when they first got married. So, like, my name's on that property, So this kind of goes down to the will, a written will. And, I think it's super important to talk about things like this, even though this is a, function with purpose podcast, as I term it. I think it's important to know some financial stuff that you need to be aware about. And I think one thing too, this will be for probably the next episode or two, I became debt free and I utilized the Dave Ramsey principles and concepts. I took his financial peace class. I'm not sponsored by him, but that really opened up my eyes like, oh my gosh, there's a reason why I'm a medical power of attorney, right? We have to have our important documents, I guess, is what Dave Ramsey calls them, like a legacy drawer or your fireproof safe at home. I'll put a link in the comments for that, but I have one of those. So you have to have important documentation kept in there, right? Because you got to know what's going on. When you're a power of attorney or medical power of attorney, you have to have and withhold important things. So all the way down to bank accounts, like your parents' bank accounts, how many do they have? Of course, what are the numbers? Who's your financial advisor? Who do I contact? Email addresses, home addresses, work addresses, phone numbers, all that stuff, right? Any property documentation, any ownership documentation, any deeds, property deeds, right? All of that. So I'll put the link to some stuff from Dave Ramsey's website. It's really good. You guys need to look into that if you haven't already, but it really gets you thinking. So now I have to be super prepared as a power of attorney, when and if something happens down the road. Well, I know where everything is. I know all the passwords, all this stuff, blah, 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 right? I have my list of things that I keep safe in this legacy drawer that I am now aware of and learned about. I just think it's super important. I don't want to go through helter-skelter again for 10 years and figure things out. Unfortunately, I experienced this, losing a parent, at a younger age than most. So I became an adult very quickly. Um, so yeah, you got to prepare yourself for things like that down the road. If any of you have parents out there or even siblings, and we don't want to talk about the big D word, but we do have to prepare ourselves. If not, then you're going to be really trying to put out some fires. So those are some things to kind of think about when your health isn't so healthy, but from the financial perspective. As a medical and as a medical power of attorney and power of attorney in general, if for some reason my mom is unable to make her own decisions on her own that are mindful decisions, I'm the one who makes the decisions for her. So it's very important that you have to have all financial information, passwords, passcodes, any property deeds, any home deeds, car licensure, stuff like that. So I hope this gives you guys some perspective, a little bit different topics here we're talking about, but it's super important. This is not only, I don't only talk about physical health, right? But this is financial health. Financial health that I had no idea about. No idea. Until I went through it and lived through it with my dad's passing. So, yeah. Hopefully that helps. And again, I'm going to put some links into the comments. Be sure to check them out. Again, I'm not sponsored. That would be cool. But if you guys haven't, taking the Dave Ramsey Financial Peace class is so cool. It's super basic, but there's some good information out there. So, all right. Salut, and hopefully this kind of gets your mind rolling to be prepared for future things, because I wasn't at that time when I was 23 years old. I had no idea. That's a wrap for today's episode, Function with Purpose podcast. For more information on this episode, please check out the show notes within your podcast app. Be sure to subscribe, like, share, or drop your comments and questions below. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Google, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Thanks for the listen. Pursuit, precision, purpose.